Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
So we had better say g'day to our mate in Port Lincoln, Dave Barrowcliff. Good morning to you, young man.
Oh, young man, thank you very much, Neil. It's a long time no talk.
Well, to Rob, yes, certainly you and I chatted about 3 days ago, but that's okay. Yes, but on the wireless, certainly.
For you, Rob?
Are the good years still flicking stones up and keeping you in business, Dave?
They certainly are. Thank you for asking. Yes, and nothing to do with me. I drive with all my wheels on the nice, clean bitumen.
Yeah, good. Well, you don't want to damage your own car. That's just silly talk.
No, hell no. No, definitely not.
Now, for those who are wondering what we're talking about, Dave runs a business in the repair of windscreens and other auto glass, as well as doing some tinting of windows in the city of Port Lincoln. Tell us about life in Port Lincoln in recent times. There's been a bit of COVID action in this part of the world. How's it been affecting you and your business and your town?
Look, to be honest, if you didn't mention the word and we didn't have to wear masks, you wouldn't even know it existed over here. We are truly in a world of paradise. We had a recent scare with, I think it was a New South Wales truckie travelling around the countryside in Ceduna and places, but it wasn't enough to put us into lockdown or anything like that. So pretty much over here, it's apart from wearing the masks and a few small restrictions, life is normal.
Dave, you're in a very interesting position, being a bit of a community leader, local councillor, so people, and I'm not taking the piss here, it's serious, people look up to you for direction and leadership and decision making. So has that made you look at things a little bit differently when directive is coming from Canberra, but certainly through Steve Marshall and the South Australian state government, when they make decisions that perhaps doesn't suit everybody? Do you really now sit back and think, well, why have they done that and why should we follow the leaders that made it easier for you?
To be honest, Rob, when I first became an elected member, there was that little bit of emotion that you carry with it when you're going into meetings and stuff like that. But I learned pretty quickly that politics of all levels, in my belief, this is my belief, is all a process, and you'll have 50% of the people that'll love you and 50% of the people that will dislike you and not agree with you. And we've got issues on the Eyre Peninsula on a constant basis, like everywhere else. We're about to have a rocket launching facility, so of course there are people who don't like it. There are people that do like it for progress. So I take things on the merits of the information that we're given, and you make the decisions accordingly. And there's nothing more you can do, really.
So I lived in South Australia for 3 years, and when I did, Stephen Marshall was in opposition, and I was really impressed with him, the way he delivered the alternative message that a good opposition should. And looking from afar, he seems to have done a really good job as Premier of keeping things together. Admittedly, the disease hasn't got to South Australia in a big way, but is he generally regarded as a good leader as you move around your community?
Well, I think you'll find that, like in every walk of life, that it's the old saying, do one thing well, you don't hear about it. Do 10 things badly, you do hear about it. The people that do think that Stephen Marshall are doing a good job and the things that he has done well don't really get spoken about because there is no need. You just keep moving on with the process. But if you make one small mistake or someone disagrees with you, they will drag 50 people into the conversation to make sure their disagreement is heard. So I don't think there's any answer in politics. There's no answers, really definitive answers in council matters, for instance, that are outside the process. You've got to make a decision. You can't sit on the fence. If you sit on the fence, you'll never get anywhere, and the game will end up in a draw. I'll be open. I'm a Liberal voter, and I actually do believe that I think Stephen Marshall has done a good job. And at the end of the day, when it comes to politics, every couple of terms there's a new government. So you run with what you've got.
Yeah. Now, I think leadership is a thing that's bereft, and he looks like a good one. The people on the ground, your day-to-day life, because COVID is not really there, I guess you don't talk about it. It's in every conversation over here, without doubt. We wake up wondering what the numbers are. You don't have that issue to deal with. But is it life on the ground in Port Lincoln pretty similar, or do a few people get a bit antsy?
Oh, there's a few, and I will use the term anti-vaxxers, of course. I'm not really sure on the vaccine myself. I've had both my Pfizer shots, and it didn't kill me, and I'm not glowing red. I haven't charged my mobile phone for a week. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm a firm believer that if it's not going to harm you, and the stats are there to say that it shouldn't, all going well, then you're not going to lose anything by giving it a shot. There's more to probably lose by not doing it than doing it, and that's the argument that people that don't want to get the shot will always have. So it's an opinionative thing, I do believe.
Because down in this part of the world, we have the ring of marshmallow around Melbourne that says that we, as regional folk, can get about our business to a fair degree without too much restriction going on. And then 70 k's up the road, well, not even 70 k's, 30 k's up the road at Werribee, they are in strict lockdown with curfews and all that kind of stuff. Is that the sort of gap between regional and metropolitan South Australia, has that been affected much in terms of, people in Port Lincoln heading down to Adelaide to see a show or to see a game of footy or something like that?
Not really. I mean, we've got the similar sort of restrictions where there was only 10 or 12, 15,000 people at Adelaide Oval for one of the AFL matches. But you've got to realise in South Australia where our COVID cases are minimal. I mean, we do look across at the eastern seaboard there, and so you guys are in, especially New South Wales, Shepparton, and that they're in diabolical struggles after 2 years, and still having to have these massive shutdowns. You've got to probably ask yourself the question on why. So we've had, apart from the very initial COVID outbreaks, we've had one shutdown in South Australia, which was some security guard. I don't know the whole story, I can't remember. But we actually did have to close down for 5 days. It started on a Friday, I do believe, or it might have been on a Thursday or a Wednesday. So we've had a 1 week shutdown, and that is all we've had. And that was the cases in Adelaide. And we are 830 kilometres away from there, across the bitumen sort of thing. So a few people got a bit antsy with that, saying, why are we shutting down? But at the end of the day, it's a process. And you can see that South Australia, and I think Western Australia as well, have done very well how to handle the crisis.
But are people more likely to stay at home, or are they still getting out and doing things that they normally would?
No, we're still getting out. I mean, it's human nature. Even if you bring in rules, I mean, there's a rule that says you shouldn't go over your car, you shouldn't go over 110 kilometres an hour in your car in a 110 kilometre zone. People still do it. If you're going to bring in rules and say that we're going to fine you if you go out when you shouldn't, people will still do it. It's human nature. The rules, the old saying, the rules are there are made to be broken, sort of thing. But if you can restrict on how, in a serious matter like this, if we can restrict the flow-on effects of people's actions, then that's where we're going to have the benefit. But bearing in mind, like if you look at Australia and compare us to the rest of the world, I mean, France, England, they're all having hundreds of thousands of people tested positive every day, but they're actually all out and about and doing what they want. So are we doing the right thing, or are they? There's a big question.
Yeah, well, I suppose my view is you look at the poor people working in the ICU and emergency services and driving ambos. I wouldn't like to be one of them at the moment. That would be a most unpleasant job, but I'd certainly hate to be doing it in England or America. But that's another story. On the ground, Port Lincoln community are famous for being one of the big fishing towns of Australia. Is it still very much the central part of the vibrance of your town, the fishing industry?
Certainly is, yeah. It's sort of it is the economy, I would say, as well as farming. So we have farming as well as the fishing industry. I think it's been a little bit tougher of late due to the fact that stocks have got to be monitored. I mean, we've had a snapper ban for the last year and a half, I think it is, something like that, which was I'm not sure if that was Australia-wide or not, but I know we had it in SA sort of thing, and that meant that there was no snapper available. Hopefully the stocks come back, but when it comes to tuna and all that, I mean, it is just the one thing we did struggle with is crayfish, which I do believe the whole of Australia did, but the crayfish industry died here for a little while when China decided that they couldn't take our fish, but that seems to be bouncing back. I suppose the bad news for the fishermen is the price of crayfish is lower. The good news for the average Joe Blow like us means that we can pay $76 a kilo instead of $130.
So it is all about the price of fish in China. That old saying.
Pretty much.
$60 a kilo for flake Ooh, geez, that was hard to take, but it still tastes beautiful, so you buy it for a bit of a treat every now and again.
We're $90 odd a kilo for whiting at some stages, and where I live, 20 k's out of Port Lincoln, I can drive down the beach and catch my quota off the beach.
That's the way it should be. Dean Luke and Tony Santic, your most famous citizens, do they still operate around the village?
So I think Dean Lucan, if it's Dean Lucan or Dean Lucan Jr., he's at the moment currently looking at doing a development on a golf course, a second one, which I do believe would be a resort. It's been, whether it's true or not, I'm not sure. It's been banting around for the last probably 10 or 15 years out past the marina side of Port Lincoln. So me being a bit of a golfer, I'd like to see that. Probably going to be beyond my price range and be more of a fly-in and fly-out golf course from any information that I have ever seen. But and Tony Santic, well, he's the Make Me Diva horse trainer, of course. And so an interesting fact, the horse actually never was in Port Lincoln, by the way.
No, I know where it is. He lives about 3 kilometres from where I live. Exactly. I should say. Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, but two very big icons, I suppose you'd say, of Port Lincoln, especially Dean Lucan. When that medal back in about, was it 88? Was it for a guess?
84. Los Angeles?
Okay.
It was well before my time, I know that.
Well, quite before my time. I was 13, believe it or not. So
I was at my 40th birthday then, I reckon.
Yeah. 10 years late. Hey, Dave, we're running out of time, so we probably should let you go. Always good to chat about the life in Port Lincoln. We'll get you back on Regional Roundup at some stage. Next time, I had to convince Rob to have you back, you understand.
Yeah.
I'm off the bench, apparently. Thank you, Rob.
You're going good as gold. And we didn't even talk about the Brisbane Lions, was just as well, because I've heard every possible negativity from Neil. I don't need to hear it from you as well. Go Lions.
I'll give you one last thing that has been a bit of a negative, unfortunately, was Benny Jarvis getting told by the... But he's an ex-Norwood boy who are playing the first semi-final against South Adelaide today, so of course he won't qualify for that. But if he doesn't get another gig at an AFL club, I'm quite happy to have him back in Norwood football.
I'll bet you are. Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
No,
all the very best, mate. Good luck.
Boys.
Cheers,
no
mate.
worries.